And at this time, Li Qingqing and Lin Ju also came over. Brother Lin Jing. Brother. The two spoke at the same time, and Lin Jing nodded, looking at them. Li Qingqing didn't show any reaction to Lin Ju calling him brother. Obviously, Lin Ju had already told Li Qingqing about this matter, although it seemed he was still not quite used to it, appearing slightly shy. Then Lin Jing asked Lin Ju, "What cultivation technique is Yun practicing?" Lin Ju spoke up afterward. "That is a body refining technique he once obtained. Yun is actually a body refinement cultivator." Lin Jing looked at Yun, who was cultivating, and felt it was unbelievable. It is extremely difficult for body refinement cultivators to practice their art. Not many people cultivate it, especially the loose cultivators without the backing of any power like Yun, of whom there are even fewer. Seeing the doubt in Lin Jing's eyes, Lin Ju spoke again. Yun has a special physique. The stronger his body, the faster his cultivation speed. The dark skin on his body is due to this physique, something he was born with, making it most suitable for practicing body refining techniques. If he practices other techniques, it would be counterproductive. Therefore, all these years, Yun has been trying to find various body refining techniques to enhance his physical body. Lin Jing nodded thoughtfully. "I see. I need to go to Liyan City for something now. After he finishes his cultivation, tell him to find me when I'm back. I'll give him a body refining technique." Upon hearing Lin Jing's words, Lin Ju looked very happy and said eagerly, "Understood, brother." The 7 refinement body forging technique Lin Jing possessed was also an exceptional body refining technique. It should be sufficient for Yun to start practicing with. Afterward, Lin Jing directly flew off on his sword to Liyan City and encountered Mam Yuqi, who was busy in the city lord's mansion. Upon Lin Jing's arrival, Mam Yuqi immediately rose to greet him. "Alan Master, you have returned." Lin Jing nodded and said, "Yes." Then Lin Jing took out the Thundershock shield he had obtained at the small auction, as well as the spirit stones earned from selling elixir medicine, giving 500,000 to Mam Yuqi. He spoke, "This is the Thundershock shield. It has notable defense against heavenly lightning, just right for you to use during your tribulation. Also in this storage bag, there are 500,000 medium-grade spirit stones. That should be sufficient for the construction of Flame Island for a while." Mam Yuqi was stunned for a moment, looking at the Thundershock shield, suddenly overcome by an indescribable feeling of gratitude. Since her family had fallen on hard times, and she was cast adrift to the demonic monster sea, she had become accustomed to deception, the survival of the fittest. This was the first time she had met someone who was so good to her, preparing a tribulation magical treasure without any hesitation and directly having one ready. And it was also a defensive magical treasure that could protect against heavenly tribulation. Mam Yuqi was moved beyond words. Then, Yuqi calmed her emotions and accepted the Thundershock shield and the storage bag filled with spirit stones from Lin Jing's hands. She gave Lin Jing a respectful bow and said, "Thank you, Island Master." At this moment, no words were sufficient. The best way to repay the Island Master would be to manage Flame Island well. Lin Jing waved his hand. "No need. Had it not been for you, Flame Island would probably still be chaotic and disorderly like before." Once Yuqi stood up, she began introducing the current situation on Flame Island to Lin Jing. "Island Master, now Liyan City and Fong Market are mostly constructed, and per your request, I have also significantly expanded the area of the spirit fields. What should we do next?" Lin Jing nodded, pondered for a moment, and then spoke. "Cheer, I have an idea, but I am not sure if it is feasible." Mam Yuqi looked at Lin Jing and then asked, "Island Master, what idea do you have?" Lin Jing then asked Mam Yuqi, "Cheer, you have lived in the Thousand Islands domain for a while. You must be very familiar with it, right?" Mam Yuqi nodded. "Yes. Ever since arriving in the demonic monster sea, I have spent most of my time in the Thousand Islands domain. I have been to many of the open islands here." After hearing this, Lin Jing nodded slightly. "Since you have been to all of them, you must also understand the way of life for the low-rank cultivators in this domain, right? Yes, ma'am, Yuqi nodded. Most of these indigenous low-rank cultivators rely on hunting demonic beasts in the sea, obtaining demonic beast inner cores, or collecting marine spirit plants and other rare minerals. Some are alchemists, artifact refiners, talisman makers, and so on. Others, like me, help the island master manage an island by cultivating a piece of spirit field with spirit plants. Basically, that's it. Lin Jing nodded and then asked, Qing, are these lower-rank cultivators in the Thousand Islands domain in great need of elixir medicine? Yuqi nodded and said, elixir medicine is naturally scarce. Because the Thousand Islands domain itself is an expanse of sea with sparse spirit fields on the islands, lacking the capacity for large-scale cultivation of spirit plants, and therefore, not many elixir medicines circulate. Thus, most low-rank cultivators in the Thousand Islands domain are indeed in short supply of elixir medicines. Furthermore, because this area is far from Bihai City, even for a cultivator at the late foundation establishment stage, a trip to Bihai City takes over a month. So, acquiring some elixir medicines can be quite difficult. Lin Jing continued, addressing Yuqi. Qing, what do you think about me selling elixir medicines within the range of the Thousand Islands domain? Yuqi furrowed her brow slightly and asked, Island Master plans to sell elixir medicines to these low-rank cultivators of the Thousand Islands domain? Lin Jing nodded and answered, I do have such a plan. Hearing Lin Jing's words, Yuqi fell into thought, and after a while, she said to Lin Jing, Actually, selling elixir medicines is not impossible. However, as the Spirit Stone veins are not so abundant in the Thousand Islands domain and are all controlled by the Island Masters, so these local cultivators usually don't have many Spirit Stones on hand. Also, because there are few regular Fong markets, the beast cores some special spirit plants, and metallic, or as they do possess, often end up stockpiling in their own hands. If the Island Master really plans to sell elixir medicines, it's actually best to focus on selling third-rank elixir medicines that golden core cultivators need to those Island Masters who own various islands and have plenty of spirit stones. Because in the Thousand Islands domain, beside those Island Masters, there are many golden core cultivators on several large islands. These golden core cultivators, although they find it easier to travel to Bihai City, will often encounter special urgent situations that don't allow them to go in time, forcing them to purchase elixir medicines from others at high prices. Therefore, if the Island Master plans to sell elixir medicines, it's better to focus on the third-rank ones, complemented by some higher-quality first- and second-rank elixir medicines. Even better, if possible, you could set up a specialized trading place within Liyan Fong Market. You can use this trading spot to allow other cultivators to temporarily store their rare items with us for consignment. This way, we might even be able to acquire some extremely rare, high-grade spiritual plants. If the Island Master needs a specific spirit plant, it can be immediately secured. Upon hearing Yuqi's suggestions, Lin Jing couldn't help but nod in agreement. Yuqi had been living in the Thousand Islands domain for a long time and naturally understood it well. Her suggestions were aimed at addressing the current situation of the Thousand Islands domain. The reason Lin Jing wanted to develop Liyan Island and establish Liyan Fong Market was also part of his own plans. As the upgrade requirements for his system space's harvest points were steadily increasing, and spirit plants were harder to come by on the island compared to mainland, he needed a large number of spirit plants to continuously engage in alchemy to gain harvest points. Otherwise, without harvest points, he wouldn't be able to accelerate the growth of spirit plants and thus couldn't prepare the yuan increase elixirs needed for his cultivation advancement. But just cultivating spirit plants wasn't enough. He also needed to sell elixir medicines. Otherwise, the vanishing of the produced pills would raise suspicion. So, Lin Jing needed a Fong market and an elixir pavilion as a cover for his alchemy practice. Besides, Lin Jing also reached the point where he needed spirit stones, because, currently, as a golden core stage cultivator, it didn't seem to matter much, but if he were to advance to the nascent soul stage, the need for 4th and 5th rank spiritual plants, which are all extremely precious, would arise. And without a large number of spirit stones, where would Lin Jing acquire these spiritual plants to continue his cultivation advancement? In fact, Yuqi mentioned something that struck a chord with Lin Jing's own thoughts, which was the trading place. So many cultivators in the Thousand Islands domain could very likely possess numerous high-grade spiritual plants. Lin Jing could also set up such a trading place. No, to be precise, a consignment shop. However, to establish a specialized consignment shop, one must first be strong enough to keep things under control. Otherwise, it's possible to end up worse off than before and fall into a trap. With Lin Jing's current strength, it definitely wasn't feasible. He estimated it was only a thought for now. Lin Jing then said, "Our current strength is insufficient. The matter of the trading place should be set aside for now. For now, the priority is to focus on cultivating spirit plants and getting the Yin Fong market up and running to start attracting people from the nearby islands. As for everything else, we have to take it slowly." After listening, Yuqi nodded. What the island master said is true. I will make sure to supervise and gradually get Li Yin Fong market operational. However, at that moment, Lin Jing interrupted Yuqi. No need. You yourself are close to advancing to the golden core stage, so you should start delegating your responsibilities to others. And you need to prepare well to welcome the heavenly tribulation for advancing to the golden core stage. Upon hearing this, Yuqi's mother was momentarily stunned, then nodded, saying, "Understand, Island Master." Lin Jing nodded in return and briefed Yuqi's mother before preparing to leave. But at that moment, he suddenly remembered something he had seemingly forgotten to mention. So he turned around and said to Yuqi's mother, "Chi's mother, I need a few more courtyards built near the tops of the mountains next to the alchemy room. Arrange it for me." Yuqi's mother nodded, replying, "Certainly, Island Master. I will arrange it immediately." Lin Jing nodded once more, then departed. In the following period, under Yuqi's mother's arrangement, construction began on small courtyard atop the nearby mountains. By this time, Li Qingqing and Lin Ju had already started cultivating the Lin family's alchemy Dao. Even Yuan had received the 7 refinement body forging technique gifted by Lin Jing, and he had already cultivated it to the 1st level. In the entire northern part of Liyan Island, only Han Bingyan was still the same as before. Time flashed by, and over a month passed. The small courtyards on the other mountaintops were all built, and Li Qingqing, along with Lin Ju and the others, would move into the new courtyard starting tomorrow. Thus, on the evening before this day, Lin Jing summoned Han Bingyan, intending to have a private talk with her. Since rescuing Han Bingyan, Lin Jing had barely spoken with her and only knew that she was not fond of talking and was very shy. Beyond that, including details about her family and her sect, Lin Jing knew nothing at all. Therefore, at this time today, Lin Jing decided to inquire in detail. When Lin Jing called Han Bingyan into the room alone, she was visibly uneasy, not even daring to raise her head. Seeing Han Bingyan like this, Lin Jing could only shake his head, puzzled by where such a nature came from. It felt like dealing with a child, naive to the ways of the world and utterly shy. But the questions that needed to be asked still had to be asked. Thus, Lin Jing took the initiative to speak. "There's no need to be so nervous. I called you here just to ask you some things." Han Bingyan, with her head lowered, replied softly, "What would Senior like to ask?" Lin Jing then proceeded to ask, "Han Bingyan, if I remember correctly, you once mentioned that you were a disciple of the Ice God Palace, right? Do you know where your sect, the Ice God Palace, is located? And do they know about you falling into the hands of the Black Shark Gang?" After hearing this, Han Bingyan finally lifted her head slightly and said, "Senior, actually, I don't know where the Ice God Palace is either." Lin Jing was puzzled by Han Bingyan's response and asked again, "You don't know either?" Han Bingyan nodded lightly and said, "Actually, like Senior, I was originally from the Nanming domain. But when I was very young, I encountered my master, who noticed my exceptional aptitude and said she wanted to take me to cultivate immortality. So she took me away. It was from what my master told me that I knew our sect was called the Ice God Palace. Lin Jing continued to ask, since you were taken in by your master as a child, haven't you returned to the Ice God Palace at all during this time? Han Bingyan shook her head and said, after accepting me, my master brought me to the demonic monster sea, and we've been cultivating on an island whose name I don't even know until now. It was only recently, I think an enemy of my master found us, and the two of them began a fight. To avoid me getting hurt by mistake, my master sent me away. Shortly after I was transmitted out, I ran into the people from the Black Shark Gang. After listening, Lin Jing frowned slightly and asked again, you haven't been to the Ice God Palace up to now, so you don't know its location, is that right? Han Bingyan thought for a moment and then responded, my master did mention a bit. She said our sect, the Ice God Palace, is very powerful and that it's located somewhere within the demonic monster sea, with many people knowing of it. Lin Jing was speechless upon hearing this. The entire demonic monster sea, whose expanse was unfathomable. A sect within the demonic monster sea was, in truth, like finding a needle in a haystack. Moreover, her master had claimed that their Ice God Palace was very powerful and well-known, which Lin Jing frankly didn't believe. Lin Jing had been venturing in the demonic monster sea for such a long time. He had never heard of any Ice God Palace, and not just Lin Jing. Even when he had asked Tangyu before, he had said he had never heard of it. However, for someone from a sect, to exaggerate the prowess of their own sect was something Lin Jing could understand. After all, Han Bingyan herself had great talent and additionally, a special body constitution. Any sect that got her would certainly not want to let her slip away. Thus, Lin Jing could quite understand her master's behavior. Afterward, Lin Jing looked at Han Bingyan and continued to ask, by the way, did your master ever tell you what kind of body constitution you actually have? Han Bingyan nodded and said, my master told me that my constitution seems to be called the extreme ice spiritual body, similar to the first ancestral master of the Ice God Palace. That's why I am most suitable for cultivating the Ice God Palace's cultivation techniques. Lin Jing nodded and said, so that's the case. After thinking for a while, Lin Jing then told Han Bingyan, since your master hasn't come back for now, you can stay here for the time being. If you need anything, just tell me. Han Bingyan nodded and replied, thank you, senior. Lin Jing waved his hand, saying, it's nothing. Then Lin Jing asked again, by the way, what is your master's name, and what does she look like? I'll see if I can keep an eye out and perhaps help you find her. After a moment's thought, Han Bingyan said, I don't know what my master's name is either. As for what she looks like, Han Bingyan tilted her head, thought for a moment, and then said, she is very beautiful. Lin Jing waited for a moment, and, seeing that Han Bingyan did not continue, he asked, is that it? Nothing else? Han Bingyan nodded her head very seriously and said, my master, I really don't know how to describe it, just that she is very beautiful, really beautiful. Lin Jing was speechless again. With such scant information, even if Lin Jing wanted to search, he had nowhere to start. A moment later, Han Bingyan spoke again and said, however, before my master sent me away, she said she left a brand on my body, telling me that after she dealt with her enemies, she would come back to find me. All right, Lin Jing said, feeling helpless. It looks like we can only wait until your master is done with her enemies and comes looking for you. This conversation with Han Bingyan had yielded almost no useful information for Lin Jing. There was nothing to be done at present. The Black Shark Gang was definitely still searching for their whereabouts. He certainly couldn't let Han Bingyan leave now. They could only wait to deal with the Black Shark Gang before considering other matters. Speaking of which, Lin Jing hadn't gone out either during this time. He had only occasionally heard that the Black Shark Gang seemed to be making big moves lately, seemingly in search of them. However, Lin Jing was unaware of the specifics. It seemed that he needed to find some time to go out and gather detailed information about the Black Shark Gang. Afterward, Lin Jing let Han Bingyan go. Just as Han Bingyan was pushing the door open, someone happened to be walking by outside. The person coming by was Lin Jing's new younger brother, Lin Ju. When Lin Ju saw Han Bingyan, he was first surprised, then he greeted her. However, Han Bingyan was obviously not very comfortable. After responding with a word, she left with her face blushing and her head lowered. Seeing Han Bingyan's demeanor, Lin Ju watched her retreating figure, seemingly thoughtful. When he turned his head back, his gaze towards Lin Jing suddenly took on a strange scrutinizing quality. Seeing that look in Lin Ju's eyes, how could Lin Jing not understand what Lin Ju was implying? So he quickly said, "Put away that look, you're thinking too much." Perhaps because of Lin Jing's presence, Lin Ju felt a sense of support and had become noticeably more cheerful in recent days compared to before. Especially in front of Lin Jing, he seemed lively and cheerful, no longer always cautious and frightened of making any mistakes like before. Lin Jing naturally welcomed this change in Lin Ju. Having seen Han Bingyan leave, Lin Ju crossed the threshold and entered the room. Lin Jing asked, "Lin Ju, do you have something to discuss this time coming here?" Lin Ju said, "Brother, I do have a matter to discuss with you." After speaking, Lin Ju glanced outside to make sure Han Bingyan had truly left, then quickly shut the door and said to Lin Jing, "Brother, can you use your spiritual power to seal the room? Because what I'm going to talk about next is quite important." Lin Jing heard this and nodded. Then he directly activated his spiritual power, enveloping the entire room in it. After doing all of this, Lin Jing spoke again and said, "Okay, it's as you wished. Now no one can eavesdrop on our conversation. Tell me, what's the matter?" Lin Ju then looked seriously at Lin Jing and said, "Brother, actually, I am a girl." Lin Jing, upon hearing these words, was first taken aback, and then he turned his head, looked at Lin Ju carefully, but did not notice anything unusual. Then, with a skeptical gaze, Lin Jing looked at Lin Ju and asked, "You're saying you're a girl?" Lin Ju nodded and then said, "There's no need to check. Not only you, brother, but also the disguise on my body. Very few can detect it. I'll show you." Having said that, Lin Ju formed hand seals and then lightly moved her lips, chanting an incantation. In this way, a hint of purple light slowly emerged on Lin Ju's forehead. As Lin Ju continued her incantation, the purple light grew stronger and stronger. At that moment, Lin Ju stopped chanting. She then activated her spiritual power to form a blade and made a cut on her palm. Then, Lin Ju pressed the wand against her forehead and slid it down. Lin Ju's forehead was immediately stained red with blood, but this blood did not drip down. Instead, it was slowly absorbed into her skin. As Lin Ju's blood was absorbed, the purple glow became brighter until it completely enveloped her. At this point, even Lin Jing couldn't see what was happening inside. After a while, the purple glow gradually faded. Lin Jing could see Lin Ju again. At this time, the former Lin Ju was long gone, replaced by a graceful young girl. The girl had large, spirited eyes, and beneath those animated eyes, a fine, delicate nose slightly turned up, complemented by her smiling lips and jade teeth. She was the image of a lively and lovely beauty. Now looking at Lin Ju, Lin Jing reacted with disbelief and asked, "Is this your true appearance?" To which Lin Ju, smiling, said, "Brother, what do you think? You didn't realize before that I wasn't your brother but your sister, did you?" Lin Jing looked at the beautiful girl before him and nodded. Even now, he could hardly believe that Lin Ju was a girl. He had checked many times over. After examining her carefully, Lin Jing nodded and said, "Indeed, I've examined you several times before and had never discovered that you were a girl." Finishing his words, Lin Jing looked at Lin Ju and asked, "How did you hide it?" Even my divine sense was deceived. Lin Ju stretched out her delicate hand to Lin Jing and said, "It's this thing that has allowed me to stay hidden." In Lin Ju's palm lay a light purple jade pendant, which was not the usual round shape, but rather crescent-shaped. Moreover, there were many different shaped hollows on the jade pendant, making it look quite peculiar. Lin Jing looked at the jade pendant in Lin Ju's hand and inquired, "What is this?" Lin Ju responded, "This is a possession of the Lin family. According to grandfather, it should be the key to entering the Lin family's secret domain. Since I was a child, Grandfather placed this key within my body and nurtured it with my blood. It's because of this item that I've been able to alter my appearance and pose as someone else. Furthermore, as Grandfather said, this jade pendant is not just a key, but also a Dao treasure of considerable quality. However, it can neither attack nor defend. It only provides a concealing effect. Once concealed by it, very few can detect it. After listening to Lin Ju's explanation, Lin Jing nodded. If this jade pendant was indeed a Dao treasure, then it would make sense that Lin Jing could not detect it. Afterward, Lin Ju handed the purple jade pendant to Lin Jing, saying, "Brother, from now on, you should keep this jade pendant." Lin Jing did not speak, but reached out and took the crescent-shaped purple jade pendant from Lin Ju's hand. Perhaps because Lin Ju had nurtured it with her blood for a long time, Lin Jing felt an extremely comfortable sense of familiarity as he took the jade pendant. Having taken the jade pendant, Lin Jing then carefully examined it. A moment later, after completing the inspection, Lin Jing returned the jade pendant to Lin Ju. He then spoke to Lin Ju. "Keep this jade pendant with you." Lin Ju looked at him, puzzled, and asked, "Brother, don't you want to visit our Lin family's secret domain to take a look?" Lin Jing shook his head and replied, "For us now, the Lin family is too dangerous. We better avoid getting involved with anything related to the Lin family from the past. Do you understand?" After hearing this, Lin Ju nodded and said, "I understand. We are too weak right now. If we recklessly get involved with things left by the Lin family from the past, it could easily reveal us and put us in danger." Having said this, Lin Ju continued to explain, "It's just that I wanted to give this jade pendant to you for safekeeping. I'm worried that if something unexpected happens to me one day, this jade pendant will fall into enemy hands with me." Before Lin Ju could finish, Lin Jing interrupted her. Looking at Lin Ju earnestly, he declared, "Stay by my side, and I will protect you, ensuring nothing will happen." Lin Ju looked at Lin Jing's serious expression, paused for a moment, then nodded vigorously. "Brother, I understand." Lin Jing then spoke to Lin Ju. "All right, then keep the jade pendant secured." Lin Ju nodded and said, "Okay, brother." After finishing her words, Lin Ju once again recited an incantation and fused the jade pendant into her glabella. However, even after the merging, Lin Ju still retained her vivacious and beautiful girl's appearance, not reverting to the previous Lin Ju. Seeing this, Lin Jing asked, "Can you control this transformation by yourself?" Lin Ju nodded and replied, "Yes, the jade pendant has been nurtured by me for a long time and has almost become one with me. I've long been able to use it at will, so I can control the jade pendant to hide my true appearance at any time." Lin Jing nodded and continued, "Then how long have you concealed your female identity? Now, besides me, who else knows about this?" Lin Ju then said, "In the past, only Grandfather knew. Now, apart from you, brother, no one else knows about my identity as a girl. Not even Jian?" Lin Jing asked with curiosity. Lin Ju nodded and answered, He has never seen my true appearance." Lin Jing nodded again and further inquired, "So now, do you plan to continue living under your previous identity or reveal your true identity?" Lin Ju took 2 steps forward, approached Lin Jing, smiled, and said to him, "In the future, I will show my true appearance in front of brother. Outside, I will continue to disguise myself. What do you think, brother?" Lin Jing gave a nod of approval and replied, "As long as you're happy, that's what matters." Then Lin Ju spoke again, saying, "Actually, here in front of my brother, besides Han Bingyan, none are strangers. Even if I show my true appearance here, it shouldn't matter." At this point, Lin Ju's eyes twinkled, and she spoke in a quieter voice. "Or maybe, brother, you could take Han Bingyan as your Dao companion. Her constitution is special and can help you cultivate quickly. Plus, she's very beautiful." Lin Jing was suddenly at a loss for words. He then scolded, "What are you thinking about all day long? I have my own cultivation methods. There's no need for... And you, stop thinking about all sorts of things all day and focus more on cultivating." Lin Ju pouted and said, "I know, brother." Then Lin Jing said to Lin Ju, "That's enough. You should go back first. Lin Ju nodded, saying, "All right, then I won't disturb you any longer, brother." Lin Jing nodded, then withdrew his spiritual power protection. Just as Lin Ju was about to walk out, Lin Jing called out to her. "Wait a moment." Lin Ju turned her head, looking at Lin Jing with confusion, and asked, "Brother, what's the matter?" Lin Jing then said, "Yuan has arrived." After saying this, Lin Jing looked at Lin Ju and said, "Aren't you planning to change back to your original appearance first?" A moment ago, when withdrawing his spiritual power, Lin Jing habitually used his divine sense to scan the surroundings. That scan allowed him to detect Yuan, who was coming towards him. Upon hearing that Yuan had come, Lin Ju's eyes gleamed, and she said to Lin Jing with a smile, "Brother, keep quiet for a while. I want to tease that silly boy Yuan." Lin Jing looked at Lin Ju, who was smiling like a little fox and was helpless. "Fine." Shortly after, Yuan's voice could be heard outside. "Senior." Lin Jing then waved his hand, and the door automatically opened. "Enter." Yuan walked in, and as soon as he entered the room, he saw Lin Jing. Additionally, there was a lively and beautiful young lady standing next to Lin Jing. Upon seeing the young lady, Yuan was immediately stunned. He did not recognize this girl, but there was an extremely familiar feeling about her. It was as if he had known her for a long time. It was at this moment, Yuan suddenly realized that staring this way might be rather inappropriate. After all, gazing like that at the young lady next to Senior Lin was extremely impolite behavior, even if he felt a familiar sense of déjà vu towards her. As a result, Lin Ju bowed, paying her respects to Lin Jing with a salutation, and said, "Senior, I am very sorry. I was rude just now without realizing it." Seeing Yuan apologize, Lin Ju's lips curled up into a smug smile. Ahem. Lin Jing gave Lin Ju a glance, coughed lightly as a reminder to be mindful. Then, Lin Jing said to Yuan, "That's enough. Rise. What is the matter that you came to see me for?" Yuan then stood up straight, looking at Lin Jing with a focused gaze, and said, "Senior, I have been practicing the 7 refinement body forging technique for some time now, and lately, I feel the progress has been slow. Senior, you mentioned before that if I felt my progress was slow, I should come to see you, as you have a place that could speed up body refinement. So, that's why I have come to seek you, Senior." By this time, Lin Ju, who had already concealed any hint of a smile, stood beside Lin Jing as properly as a maidservant. However, Yuan kept his gaze steadily on Lin Jing, without even glancing at Lin Ju standing next to him. Seeing that Yuan was so focused and did not even look at her, Lin Ju showed no emotion, but just secretly curled her lip. Bringing Lin Ju to a location for body refinement was indeed something Lin Jingji had spoken of before. Body refinement cultivators often need extremely harsh environments to improve quickly. And for Yuan practicing the 7 refinement body forging technique, the Earthflame Spring would be the most suitable place. However, initially, on the one hand, Yuan's bodily strength was not enough, and there was no need to go to the Earthflame Spring. On the other hand, Lin Jing had been observing Yuan to see what kind of person he was and whether he was trustworthy. After some time of observation, Lin Jing had gained a thorough understanding. He knew that Yuan was not the kind of person who would betray trust and indeed was reliable. Therefore, Lin Jing told him about the Earthflame Spring. However, Lin Jing did not explicitly mention the Earthflame Spring, but only said there was a place that could speed up body refinement. He told Yuan to seek him out when his progress slowed. And so, he came today. Knowing the reason for Yuan's visit, Lin Jing then spoke. "I understand. Thus, tomorrow morning, I will take you to that place." Upon hearing this, Yuan was immediately elated, and he bowed deeply, thanking Lin Jing. "Thank you, Senior. If that's the case, I won't disturb you any longer and will take my leave." Lin Jing nodded, responding, Go ahead." After that, Yuan left. After Yuan had departed, Lin Jing turned his head to look at Lin Ju standing beside him and asked, "How's that?" Lin Ju nodded, then spoke. "That kid Yuan, he really is a bit silly." After speaking, Lin Ju said to Lin Jing, "Brother, then I won't bother you any longer either. and we'll head back now." Afterward, Lin Ju quickly left, and Lin Jing, looking at the retreating figure of Lin Ju, fell into deep thought. Time flies swiftly. In the blink of an eye, half a year had passed. During this half year, the Black Shark Gang had not given up on searching for those few people. It was said that the Black Shark Gang leader, in order to find them, had issued a bounty in the Chi Hall, vowing to locate those individuals. Furthermore, the bounty had already spread throughout the Thousand Islands domain, sparking heated discussions. However, the Thousand Islands domain was a place with a mixture of good and bad people, and although the message of the Black Shark Gang's search reached many, most did not take any real action. After all, within the vast demonic monster sea, if someone really wanted to hide, they wouldn't be easily found by the Black Shark Gang. Of course, there would undoubtedly be some who were tempted by the bounty and continued to inquire about the whereabouts of these individuals. As for the place where Lin Jing and his companions resided, it was now the forbidden area of Liyan Island, protected by a formation inaccessible to outsiders. Therefore, they were still quite secure and had not been found. Apart from the affairs of the Black Shark Gang, there was also the matter of Yuxing preparing for her tribulation. Half a year ago, Yuxing had made all necessary arrangements, even handing over the management of Liyan City to a trustworthy individual. After that, she began her final retreat before her tribulation, waiting only to come out and start preparations for advancing to the Golden Course stage. Since Yuxing's aptitude was not very good, her retreat this time was relatively long. Even now, she had not emerged. Not long ago, Lin Jing had specifically gone to visit Yuxing once. During that time, Lin Jing simply stayed outside her closed-door training chamber and felt her cultivation released in the atmosphere. Lin Jing knew that Yuxing's retreat was likely nearing its end. Thus, he made a special trip out to select a location for her to undergo her tribulation. And Zhang Jian had visited once as well. Learning that Yuxing was about to come out, he also went to prepare the formation flags needed for the formation, waiting only for Yuxing to emerge. Then they could head to the island Lin Jing had chosen to set up the formation directly. At this moment, Yuxing still had not emerged, and Lin Jing utilized this time to stay busy inside the system space. During this period, Lin Jing practiced Yuxing's Sheng Lin revival wood technique, applying it to those high-grade spiritual plants within the system space. He found out that the results were truly remarkable. Although it was within the system space, these spiritual plants still encountered various issues during their growth. These issues were unavoidable. Using the Sheng Lin revival wood technique, however, could repair these issues, enabling the spirit plants to reach a perfect state and accelerate their maturity time. With constant practice during this time, Lin Jing had finally completely mastered this spell. Right then, Lin Jing was beside that eternal life vine, using the Sheng Lin revival wood technique to repair some fine veins within the vine. The more advanced the spirit plant, the more complex its veins and the more difficult it was to repair. Lin Jing had to conduct numerous experiments before daring to attempt repairing the eternal life vine. Lin Jing operated the Sheng Lin revival wood technique, turning it into a thread of vitality, and sent into the interior of the eternal life vine. He also had to extend his divine sense, carefully guiding the thread of vitality as it slowly moved inside the plant. If he encountered any fine veins that were damaged or faced other obstructions, he would use the vitality generated by a Sheng Lin revival wood technique to heal the plant. This process was like treating a person whose capillaries were slightly damaged. This step was extremely draining on divine sense, and the progress was extremely slow. Before this, Lin Jing had spent 4 hours just to repair less than 2 inches. Yet even those 4 hours had exhausted his divine sense, forcing him to stop and rest. This was only possible because Lin Jing practiced the Dao Huafen Shun, making his divine sense much stronger than that of average cultivators. That's how he was able to persist for so long. If it were another cultivator, they probably wouldn't last even an hour. Repeatedly doing so over time, Lin Jing nonetheless reaped some rewards. Aside from accelerating the growth of the spiritual plants, Lin Jing's divine sense had also noticeably strengthened during this period. because using the Shenglin revival wood technique to repair the spirit plants consumed spirit even more than alchemy did. It had a significant strengthening effect on divine sense. After constantly healing for a while, Lin Jing distinctly felt his divine sense had strengthened considerably compared to before. Lin Jing's divine sense was already comparable to that of a golden core peak cultivator, and after continuous tempering over this period, he now only needed an opportunity to break through the limitation of the golden core peak and reach the nascent soul stage. However, such an opportunity was not readily available. Now, Lin Jing could only wait patiently. After another 4 hours of continuous repairs, Lin Jing's divine sense gradually reached the brink of exhaustion. At that time, the eternal life vine was almost completely repaired. Only one last point of disconnected veins was left. Lin Jing operated the Shenglin revival wood technique, and with his divine sense, he carefully controlled the vitality force, moving it to that point of disconnected veins, cautiously making the repairs. In this way, the veins slowly repaired and healed. After a quarter of an hour, the veins were completely repaired. It was at that moment that the system prompt sounded. Ding! Congratulations to the host for nurturing the eternal life vine to a perfect state, doubling the growth rate of the eternal life vine. The spirit plants repaired using Shenglin revival wood technique would enter a perfect state, thus doubling the growth rate. Although this effect of doubling the growth rate might not be substantial for low-tier spirit plants, it was different for high-grade ones. Take the eternal life vine, for instance. It originally would take 10,000 years to mature, but after using Shenglin revival wood technique, its growth time was halved, reducing it by a solid 5,000 years. This was indeed a significant gain. However, the higher the grade of the spirit plant, the more time and effort it would take to repair. Just this single eternal life vine took Lin Jing over a month to repair. Thereafter, Lin Jing summoned the system, and instantly, a panel appeared above the eternal life vine, and Lin Jing directly started to check the status of this Millennium Vine. Eternal Life Vine, 5th rank, perfect. Current environment, Immortal Crossing Island. Environment match, perfect state, rapid growth, time remaining until maturity, 4,996 years. Even in its perfect state, the Millennium Vine still required 5,000 years of growth time. For a golden core cultivator with a lifespan of at most 500 years, or even a nascent soul cultivator with 1,000 years, waiting for the Millennium Vine to mature was simply impossible. No wonder higher-ranked spiritual plants are rarer. The cultivation of such a plant without the efforts of several generations is practically unfeasible. Perhaps only those long-established large sects would engage in such endeavors. Lin Jing, because of the existence of system space, needed much less time for cultivation. But still, even with the 5-fold flow of time speed boost of a level 5 system space, it would take 1,000 years for the Millennium Vine to mature. Such a long time, Lin Jing certainly could not afford to wait. Only by using the spiritual plant acceleration function might it be feasible. And using the spiritual plant acceleration function required a considerable amount of harvest points. Therefore, Lin Jing still needed to try to obtain as many harvest points as possible. In this way, no matter what elixir medicine he needed to refine, as long as he needed spiritual plants, he could directly hasten their maturity, without having to wait such long periods. After checking the growth status of the Millennium Vine, Lin Jing immediately closed the system's panel. By now, his divine sense was almost exhausted, and even his head felt a bit heavy. What Lin Jing most needed now was to meditate and recover as quickly as possible. Meditating in system space was certainly not an option. The flow of time in system space was meant for alchemy and couldn't be wasted so casually. Thereafter, Lin Jing immediately summoned the system and left system space, then started to sit cross-legged in the alchemy room at the mountain peak to recover. He didn't know how long he had sat in meditation, but as Lin Jing was restoring himself, he suddenly felt a disturbance in the formation guarding the northern forbidden area of Liyan Island. This disturbance abruptly awakened Lin Jing from his meditative state. Upon being awakened, Lin Jing's brows furrowed slightly, Then he extended his divine sense outside of the formation. When he sensed the person outside the formation, Lin Jing immediately relaxed. It turned out that the person outside the formation was none other than Jian, who was currently standing outside, looking into the formation. Clearly, Jian had been stopped by the formation. Seeing this, Lin Jing took out an array plate from his storage bag, then infused spiritual power into it, and in an instant, a formation prototype appeared above the array plate. After a series of manipulations, a doorway appeared on the prototype. Then, Lin Jing stood up and left the alchemy room. By then, the heaviness he had felt had disappeared, and Lin Jing had recovered about 70 to 80%. Presumably, a considerable amount of time had passed. Upon leaving the alchemy room, Lin Jing looked up to the south. Soon enough, he saw a figure flying on a sword toward him. This person was Jian. Upon seeing Lin Jing, Jian descended directly in front of him. As soon as he saw Lin Jing, Jian started to complain. "Brother Lin, seeing you is indeed difficult. Why do you encompass the whole of the northern part of Lian Island? If someone didn't know better, they might think there's some rare treasure hidden here." Lin Jing replied with a smile. "I merely dislike being disturbed." To Lin Jing's response, Jian could only purse his lips and say nothing more. Lin Jing then inquired, "Brother Zhang, how's the preparation for the formation flags needed for the array?" Jian replied with a laugh, "Don't worry, everything is ready. We're just waiting for Yuxing to come out of her retreat, and then we can directly head to the Tribulation." Lin Jing nodded and then said, "Brother Zhang, let's go. First, let's go inside the house, brew a pot of tea, and we can chat while we drink." Jian responded, "Sure. I can't miss out on the spiritual tea cultivated by Yuxing." Saying this, the two men walked towards the small courtyard on the mountain peak where Lin Jing resided. Once inside the house, Lin Jing brewed the spiritual tea, pouring a full cup for each of them. Then, Jian, unable to wait any longer, immediately picked up the teacup and took a sip. After finishing, he let out a satisfied sigh. This spiritual tea, worthy of being specially cultivated using the Shenglin revival wood technique, has a fragrance that surpasses other teas by far. Moreover, the spiritual power contained within it is incomparable to that of other spiritual teas. The only pity is that the Shenglin revival wood technique is too draining to use for cultivating spiritual tea. It seems wasteful. If it were me, I definitely wouldn't have the heart to do so." After speaking, Jian looked out of the window of his house at the scenery outside and couldn't help but sigh. "Brother Lin, to be honest, I think it's more comfortable here with you, owning an island all to oneself. Much better than my situation on Xianyu Island. Originally, I thought that after learning the Shenglin revival wood technique from Madame Yuqi, I could plant more spirit plants and have more ways to earn spirit stones. But Xianyu Island is so small, and I have to compete with others. I can't even expand to have a bit more usable spirit field." With a smile on his face, Lin Jing looked at Jian, listened to his complaints, first picked up the teacup, gently took a sip, then he said, "Actually, you could entirely own an island by yourself, with no one to compete with you." Jian glanced at Lin Jing with irritation and said, "You make it sound so easy. With my current cultivation, where could I possibly occupy an island? Apart from those extremely barren islands devoid of any usable resources, which other island that hasn't been taken by a powerful golden core cultivator?" At this point, Jian let out a bitter laugh and said, "To put it bluntly, my own strength is just too weak. If I were strong enough, I could just seize an island directly." Upon hearing this, Lin Jing turned his head to stare at Jian and said, "Actually, there's one island that I think would be quite suitable for Brother Zhang." Upon hearing these words, Jian immediately became interested and hastily asked, "May I know which island Brother Lin is referring to? How come I don't know about it?" Lin Jing smiled mysteriously and said, "You're not unfamiliar with that island. Yuxing Island. I'm sure, Brother Zhang, you haven't forgotten." Hearing Lin Jing's words, Jian immediately deflated like a punctured ball, collapsing onto his chair and complained, "Brother Lin, I think you just want to see me make a fool of myself. After you killed the 3 island masters of Yuxing Island last time, it wasn't long before a golden core late-stage cultivator came and took over Yuxing Island again. I remember telling you about this last time, didn't I? Have you forgotten so soon? Or do you truly believe that I, at the early golden core stage, could be a match for that late golden core stage cultivator? Lin Jing ignored Zhang Jian's complaints and looked at him, asking, Brother Zhang, how skilled are you with formations now? Could you set up a complete 4th rank trapping and killing grand formation? The kind that can protect an entire island. When it came to formations, Zhang Jian immediately perked up. Brother Lin, aren't you underestimating me a little? Of course, I can set up a 4th rank trapping and killing grand formation. However, the setup time for a 4th rank trapping and killing grand formation isn't short, and no one will wait for me to finish setting up the formation before they come to battle me. Lin Jing looked at Zhang Jian and said bluntly, What if I help you? Lin Jing's words made Zhang Jian pause for a moment. Then he questioned him. You said, you'll help me? Lin Jing nodded and replied, I'll help you take Yuxing Island, then defend it for a while for you, until you have set up the 4th rank trapping and killing grand formation. Then I'll leave. How about that? Zhang Jian sized up Lin Jing, then said, Brother Lin, I've seen your strength, and honestly, it is extraordinary. But just the 2 of us facing a late golden core stage cultivator. At this point, Zhang Jian shook his head. The 2 of us can handle a mid-golden core cultivator. But as for a late stage, let's forget it. Brother Lin, please don't put me in a tough spot. Lin Jing pursed his lips and said, Who told you there's only the 2 of us? Upon hearing this, Zhang Jian abruptly turned his head, his eyes flickering with light, and looked at Lin Jing. Could it be that, Brother Lin, you have other helpers? Lin Jing then said, I said I would help you take Yuxing Island, but I didn't say it had to be right now. We must at least wait until we reach the mid-golden core stage, and then along with Madame Yuqi, who's at the golden core stage, the 3 of us can act together. Even a late golden core stage cultivator might find it tough to get the better of us, don't you think? After hearing this, Zhang Jian nodded and said, Brother Lin, if you put it that way, I naturally believe you. With your strength, Brother Lin, plus my formations, and with Madame Yuqi supporting us at the right time, we can even take down a late golden core cultivator. However, there is still something that I don't quite understand. Why on earth do you want me to occupy Yuxing Island, Brother Lin? This is very unlike you. Lin Jing then said, You want to occupy Yuxing Island? For what purpose? Zhang Jian replied, Naturally, to grow spirit plants, then exchange them for spirit stones to cultivate. Otherwise, what else could I do? I'm not an alchemist. I can't refine elixir medicine myself. Lin Jing asked again, So, to whom do you plan to sell your harvested spirit plants? Zhang Jian continued, There are plenty of places to sell, like Fong Market or Seven Seas Hall. If worst comes to worst, Changyan Elixir Pavilion generally buys various spirit plants, and they also offer pretty good prices. Lin Jing then looked at Zhang Jian and said, Brother Zhang, how about selling the spirit plants to me? I can purchase your spirit plants at market price, or even if you want, I can also refine the elixir medicine you desire. Zhang Jian looked at Lin Jing, but at this time, Lin Jing was extremely serious, which caused Zhang Jian to feel a bit puzzled. Brother Lin, don't you already have quite a few spirit fields? Why, are you still lacking spirit plants? Lin Jing said, Of course. Don't forget, I am an alchemist. What alchemist doesn't need spirit plants? Look at my Liyan Island. The Fong market here has already started operating. The elixir medicines in those elixir pavilions aren't enough yet, right? How can it work without spirit plants? After listening, Zhang Jian nodded his head and said, What you're saying makes sense, Brother Lin. To tell you the truth, I even envy your Liyan Island. But not only are you opening spirit fields, you actually want to do business in the market as well. As he said this, Zhang Jian paused for a moment, then looked at Lin Jing seriously and said, However, Brother Lin, I must remind you, doing business in the market is not that easy, especially here in the Thousand Islands domain. Although you are now the island master of Lian Island, if your market develops, it's very likely you'll attract the envy of others. It is possible that someone will come to reap the benefits. Those high and mighty divine transformation true monarchs usually don't care for these things and won't bother you. But if those nascent soul cultivators from the big islands make a move, I'm afraid even your Lian Island won't be safe. Now you see why, in this Thousand Islands domain, all the resources are concentrated on those large islands? The Thousand Islands domain is no good place if someone wants to take your things. Negotiation is out of the question. It's all a matter of whether they find it worth their while or not. Even though your Lian Island is protected by a fifth-rank formation, against those nascent soul cultivators, it's still better to keep a low profile. After hearing this, Lin Jing nodded and said, I am well aware of this. However, it's still too early to discuss this. Whether Lian Fong market can develop or not remains to be seen. Moreover, even if Lian Fong market really can grow, by the time it develops, who knows how many years will have passed. By then, maybe I will already have advanced to the nascent soul stage. Upon hearing Lin Jing's words, Jian pursed his lips and said, Brother Lin, you really have confidence. Do you know how many people have been trapped in the nascent soul stage for their whole lives, unable to break through? And then, obtaining the Nirvana elixir is not so easy, is it? To tell the truth, I am not even sure if I can reach the nascent soul stage in this lifetime. Lin Jing looked at Jian without saying anything. Naturally, he wouldn't tell Jian that he already possessed the Nirvana elixir, and that he was already cultivating the Nirvana flowers required for refining the Nirvana elixir in the spirit fields within his system space. The hardest to obtain, the Nirvana flowers, were already in his hands, and the rest of the spirit plants needed for the Nirvana elixir wouldn't take much effort to acquire. At most, it would just cost some additional spirit stones. When the time came, as long as the spirit plants for refining the Nirvana elixir were collected, he would be able to refine the Nirvana elixir himself. Then, wouldn't he have as many Nirvana elixirs as he wanted? Lin Jing then chatted with Jian for a bit more. He also lightly discussed future plans concerning Yuxing Island. While the two were discussing, Lin Jing sensed someone passing through the formation and heading this way. Afterwards, Lin Jing's divine sense reached out. He discovered that the person coming was none other than Yuqi, who had just finished her closed-door cultivation. Lin Jing then stood up and said to Jian, Well then, Yuqi has finished her cultivation. Next, it's your turn to get to work. Jian nodded and said, Don't worry, leave the formation to me. Soon after, Yuqi arrived. Island Master, my closed-door cultivation is complete, and I'm ready for my tribulation. Lin Jing nodded, then passed several pure jade boxes and small jade vials to Yuqi. These contained all the elixir medicines needed for her tribulation, which Lin Jing had already prepared for her. Then, Lin Jing said to Yuqi, I have prepared 2 highest quality cultivation true elixirs for you, as well as 3 each of the pure restorative elixirs and pure healing elixirs. Besides those, there are some spare top-grade restorative elixirs and wound healing elixirs. With these elixir medicines, they should be enough for your tribulation. Upon hearing this, Yuqi quickly bowed in gratitude and said, Thank you, Island Master. With these elixir medicines, I'm certain there won't be any issues with my tribulation. Lin Jing nodded and then said, The Thunder Shock Shield I gave you before, you've already refined it, haven't you? Yuqi nodded and said, Yes, I've already refined the Thunder Shock Shield with the shield and the elixir medicines provided by the Island Master. Along with Senior Zhang's formation, I'm 90% confident in my tribulation. After hearing this, Jian's eyes twinkled with an unusual light as he clicked his tongue and said, Tisk, tisk. If someone had been this good to me when I was advancing, I reckon I would have pledged myself to them. Upon hearing Jian's teasing, Yuqi's mother's face instantly reddened, somewhat uncomfortable. Meanwhile, Lin Jing gave Jian a blank look and said, If that's the case, when it's your turn to advance, I'll give you a hand too. Just promise yourself to me directly. Hearing this, Jian hurriedly waved his hands and chuckled. Hee hee, I'm just kidding. After that, Jian turned his head and spoke to Yuqi's mother again. In the future, you don't need to call me senior anymore. Just call me Taoist friend or by my name. After all, you're about to advance to the Golden Core stage yourself. Once you advance to the Golden Core stage, you'll be a Taoist friend like us. Yuqi's mother nodded gently. Afterward, Lin Jing spoke directly. Since that's settled, let's head to that island now to prepare for the tribulation. Jian and Yuqi's mother both nodded their heads in agreement. Subsequently, Lin Jing summoned the flying boat. Then the three of them boarded the flying boat together and left Liyan Island, heading for Tribulation Island. Originally, Lin Jing had thought about whether to bring Li Qingqing and others, including Lin Ju, along to observe Yuqi's mother undergoing her tribulation. After all, observing a tribulation is quite beneficial for one's own future tribulation. But then Lin Jing thought of the Black Shark Gang that was still ceaselessly searching for them, and he dismissed this idea. This time, the protectors for the tribulation were only Lin Jing and Zhang. If an accident occurred midway through the tribulation or other cultivators were encountered, it might not end well. After several hours of flight, the three finally arrived at the small island that Lin Jing had previously found. This island was located in the northern part of the Thousand Islands domain. Since it was some distance away from the main domain and was an uninhabited island with no resources, even the cultivators passing by here were very few. Upon their arrival on the island, Lin Jing opened the hatch of the flying boat, and the three disembarked. Zhang immediately set to work. Zhang reached the center of the small island and began to take out array flags, placing them in predetermined positions one by one. Before long, the array flags were all placed. Then, Zhang took out an array plate and began to control the formation, gathering it. It didn't take long for the formation to take shape. After the formation was set up, Zhang came over and said to Yuqi's mother, "Cheered. All right, the formation is complete. You can enter and start a breakthrough." Yuqi's mother nodded her head, then said to Zhang, "Thank you, Taoist Zhang." Zhang waved his hand and said, "No need." Then, Yuqi's mother turned to Lin Jing and said, "I'm a master. I will go ahead then." Lin Jing nodded and replied, "Yeah, go on." Yuqi's mother was well prepared for this tribulation, so naturally, there was nothing she needed to explain. Afterward, Yuqi's mother positioned herself in the middle of the formation, sat down cross-legged, took the cultivation true elixir given to her by Lin Jing, swallowed it, and began to meditate. At this moment, seeing Yuqi's mother begin her meditation, Lin Jing turned his head to Zhang and said, "Brother Zhang, we can't be careless in what's to come." Zhang replied with a smile, "Don't worry, I naturally understand that." Afterward, the two took up positions on two sides of the island, starting their roles as protectors for Yuqi's mother. Soon, for hours passed, yet Yuqi's mother had still not broken through. At this time, the sky had gradually darkened. But just then, Yuqi's mother temporarily stopped her meditation, took out a second cultivation true elixir from her storage bag, swallowed it, and continued her meditation. Another 4 hours went by, and Lin Jing finally sensed a sudden change in Yuqi's mother's aura. Immediately after, the aura in the sky began to feel unusual as well. A terrifying pressure from heaven and earth descended upon the island. Lin Jing looked up at the sky and saw dark clouds, like ink, gathering overhead. Even amidst the night sky, they were strikingly evident. Seeing this, Lin Jing also hurriedly retreated a fair distance back to avoid being sensed by the heavenly tribulation. And not just Lin Jing. When he retreated, he also saw Zhang moving back as well. The two of them stood by, watching Yuqi's mother amidst the island, while Lin Jing's divine sense continued to sweep over the adjacent seas, lest any unforeseen events occur. The heavenly tribulation facing Yuqi's mother was not particularly strong. At least, it was much weaker compared to Lin Jing's tribulation. In fact, it was not much different from the tribulation elder you faced. Above Yuqi's mother's head, the black clouds quickly gathered, with countless arcs of lightning flashing within them, and the sound of rumbling was unceasing. Crack! Not long after, a sudden loud noise sounded. The first strike of tribulation lightning fell, illuminating the entire night sky as if it were daylight. However, this first strike of tribulation lightning, facing a well-prepared Yuqi's mother, hardly affected her at all. Yuqi's mother simply wielded the Thunder Shock Shield, easily fending off this first strike of tribulation lightning. After that, came the second strike, the third strike of tribulation lightning. Yuqi's mother effortlessly withstood several consecutive strikes of tribulation lightning. It wasn't until the sixth strike of tribulation lightning began that it became more formidable. At this time, Mother Yuqi's condition was still intact, and she had no problem facing the sixth bolt of tribulation lightning. Then, the seventh bolt of tribulation lightning caused the formation set up by Jian to crack. However, the formation ultimately withstood the assault and did not shatter outright. Even Mother Yuqi herself sustained some injuries under this seventh bolt, but they were not particularly severe. Although her injuries were minor, the tribulation lightning had significantly depleted her spiritual power. Consequently, she hastily retrieved a restorative elixir from her storage bag and swallowed it directly, beginning her recuperation. A little while later, as the eighth bolt of tribulation lightning descended, Mother Yuqi, who had regained a portion of her spiritual power, quickly stood up to confront it. At the same time, Jian's formation finally could not bear the strain and completely shattered. This eighth bolt exacerbated Mother Yuqi's injuries. After that, Mother Yuqi took out another wound healing elixir and swallowed it, simultaneously recovering from her injuries and positioning the Thunder Shock Shield above her head. Finally, the last bolt of tribulation lightning arrived. Mother Yuqi, now fully recovered, utilized her cultivation technique at full strength while wielding the Thunder Shock Shield to meet this final challenge. 3 breaths later, the tribulation lightning finally dissipated. Yet Mother Yuqi still stood her ground. Apart from appearing a little bedraggled, she seemed otherwise unharmed. Even the injuries on her body were not very serious. After this last bolt of tribulation lightning vanished, the terrifying pressure between heaven and earth seemed to suddenly recede and disappear. And the clouds of tribulation above Mother Yuqi's head also began to slowly fade away. At this moment, Mother Yuqi's body underwent a change, emitting an aura unique to golden core cultivators. Once the clouds of tribulation had scattered, Mother Yuqi did not delay and promptly sat down cross-legged to recover. At this time, her cultivation had just advanced and was not yet stable. It was the crucial moment for consolidation. Seeing this, Lin Jing and Zhang did not disturb Mother Yuqi and continued to act as her protectors, allowing her to recuperate. It was not until the next day, as the sky gradually brightened, that Mother Yuqi concluded her meditation. Upon seeing Mother Yuqi rise, Lin Jing and Zhang both approached her side. With a smile, Zhang said to Mother Yuqi, "Congratulations, fellow Yuqi, on successfully advancing to the Golden Core stage." Mother Yuqi was also very excited, feeling her new level of cultivation, and then spoke to Zhang. "I also owe you my thanks, Zhang fellow. Otherwise, this tribulation would not have been so easy for me." But Zhang replied with a smile, "You're too courteous, fellow Yuqi. Since I had made a promise earlier, I naturally did my best. It's Lin, brother, who has given more." After that, Mother Yuqi turned around, bowed to Lin Jing, and said, "Island Master." "Thank you, Island Master. Without you, I fear I would have had a hard time reaching the Golden Core stage in this lifetime." Lin Jing then reached out, promptly pulling Mother Yuqi to her feet, and spoke, "There's no need for such formality. Now that you two are a Golden Core immortal, we shall naturally treat each other as equals from now on." Mother Yuqi shook her head and responded, "The kindness you have shown me, Island Master, will never be forgotten by Cheer. I will certainly help the Island Master develop Liyan Island in the future." Lin Jing nodded and said, "Once Liyan Island has developed, we should no longer lack cultivation resources. By then, it's possible that we might even be able to advance you to the nascent soul stage." Zhang pursed his lips and remarked, "If I truly could advance to the nascent soul stage, I'd be willing to work like an ox or a horse for you." Lin Jing glanced at him and then replied, "We'll see about that." Zhang was suddenly at a loss for words. Then Lin Jing summoned the flying boat and proposed. Now that Qi has successfully advanced to the golden core stage, shall we head back? Okay, agreed Mother Yuqi. Zhang Jian then said, since we're heading back, no need to trouble ourselves further. Just drop me off at Xianyu Island. Speaking of which, Lin brother, your flying boat is really quite impressive, much better than mine. Lin Jing responded, when you take over Yuxing Island and have your own spirit stones, you could also get yourself a new flying boat. Zhang Jian, however, rapidly shook his head like a rattle. No, my flying boat is already sufficient. If I manage to get spirit stones, I would rather exchange them for cultivation resources to enhance my cultivation. Lin Jing just smiled and said nothing. Afterward, the three of them boarded the flying boat. Then, with a whoosh, the flying boat darted away and eventually disappeared into the horizon. Indeed, Lin Jing's shadow escape flying boat was much faster than the one Zhang Jian had. A few hours later, Lin Jing steered the flying boat to the vicinity of Xianyu Island. Xianyu Island is an open, mid-sized island, easily several dozen times the size of Lian Island. The island master of Xianyu Island is a late-stage nascent soul cultivator, well known throughout the Thousand Islands domain. Besides the island master, many golden core cultivators reside on Xianyu Island, and Zhang Jian was one of them. The cultivation resources of Xianyu Island were largely controlled by the island master, leaving the residing golden core cultivators with few resources to cultivate. As a result, competition among them was fierce, and Zhang Jian's power was insufficient to occupy an island on his own. This was precisely why Zhang Jian envied Lin Jing so much. Upon arriving at Xianyu Island, Zhang Jian initially wanted to invite Lin Jing and his companion a visit, but they were in a hurry to return to Lian Island, so they declined outright. After saying their goodbyes to Zhang Jian, the two continued towards Xianyu Island. It wasn't long before the pair returned to Lian Island. As Lin Jing steered the flying boat into the northern part of Lian Island, he immediately sensed something was amiss. For above the small courtyard on the mountaintop, there stood a woman in white, purer than snow, floating in the void. The woman was looking towards the shadow escape flying boat. At this moment, the shadow escape flying boat was still in stealth mode, yet Lin Jing observed her through the transparent screen at the front of the boat, used for monitoring the surroundings. This woman was indeed looking at the flying boat. No, to be precise, she was looking at him inside the flying boat. It was as if the stealth function of the shadow escape flying boat was completely ineffective to her. Upon seeing this woman in white, Lin Jing was immediately startled. What really shocked Lin Jing was not just this, but the fact that before this encounter, Lin Jing's divine sense could not detect her presence at all. Moreover, he could not sense any aura emanating from her body, as if she had merged with the world around her. Down in the small courtyard, Li Qingqing, Lin Ju, Yuan, and Han Bingyan all remained unharmed in the courtyard, albeit somewhat reserved. Seeing this, Lin Jing understood that the woman in white must be there for him. Lin Jing's brow furrowed unconsciously, because he did not recognize this woman, nor did he know why she had come. At that moment, even Yuqing noticed the woman in white. Qingyang was about to ask something, but Lin Jing stopped her with a look. Subsequently, Lin Jing deactivated the shadow escape flying boat stealth function, opened the hatch, and stepped out. Yuqing followed closely behind Lin Jing. Only after coming out did Lin Jing clearly see the woman's face, and upon seeing it, he was momentarily stunned. Because the woman looked ethereally beautiful, as if she was a celestial being descended to earth. Put simply, she was very beautiful, extremely beautiful. In the presence of the woman in white, Lin Jing dared not underestimate her in the slightest. To be able to stand in the void without using any spells. At the very least, she must possess cultivation at the nascent soul stage. However, Lin Jing could not sense any cultivation aura from her, and even his divine sense could not detect her existence. Clearly, this woman's cultivation was not just at the nascent soul stage, and it wasn't even at the divinity transformation stage. Her actual cultivation level was beyond Lin Jing's ability to fathom. Afterwards, Lin Jing approached the woman in white and greeted her with a cupped hand salute, saying, My name is Lin Jing, the humble island master of Lian Island. May I inquire what brings the esteemed senior to Lian Island? The woman in white's beautiful eyes shifted slightly as she sized up Lin Jing from head to toe, and then she spoke. You are Lin Jing? Lin Jing saluted with cupped hands. Yes, senior. The woman in white gave a slight nod, saying, I've heard my disciple mention you. She said that you saved her. Upon hearing the woman's words, Lin Jing was taken aback, then realized and exclaimed with surprise. Senior, are you Han Bingyan's master? The woman in white nodded. Indeed. Then the woman continued. Had you not intervened, she might have already met with misfortune. I am very grateful to you for saving Bingyan. Lin Jing hurriedly replied. Senior flatters me. Saving Bingyan was simply a matter of lifting a hand. Yet the woman in white spoke again, looking at Lin Jing. You are commendable. If someone else had saved Bingyan, knowing her special constitution, they would certainly have tried to take her purity and claim her for themselves. But you did not. That's why I say, you did well. As she spoke, the woman in white's eyes suddenly sharpened, and she said to Lin Jing, Of course, had you really done so, I would have certainly killed you. When the woman uttered these words, Lin Jing felt an invisible intent to kill envelop him. His whole body felt as if it had fallen into an ice cave. Fortunately, this murderous intent appeared only for a moment before it was withdrawn. Otherwise, Lin Jing truly could not have withstood it. Therefore, Lin Jing saluted with cupped hands and said to the woman in white, Senior worries too much. Bingyan is by nature kind-hearted and truly rare. I would never stoop to committing such a shameful act and coercing her. The woman in white nodded slightly, saying, You have done a service by saving Bingyan, and I will certainly reward you. However, I have other matters to attend to and would like to leave Bingyan with you for a few more days. Lin Jing then quickly interjected. Senior, please feel at ease to tend to your affairs. Leaving Bingyan here, you could be reassured. The woman in white nodded, then said, Next, I will go and annihilate the Black Shark Gang, ridding you of the potential threat before I take care of another matter of my own. Once I return, I will take Bingyan with me. When she spoke of annihilating the Black Shark Gang, her tone was indifferent, as if mentioning a trivial matter of no great consequence. Obviously, she did not take the Black Shark Gang seriously. Lin Jing was startled and then asked, Senior is going to annihilate the Black Shark Gang? With a frosty countenance, the woman uttered coldly, For capturing disciples of the Ice God Palace and selling them like goods, not a single member of the Black Shark Gang will escape. I'll leave Bingyan in your care for the time being. I shall return shortly. As soon as the woman finished speaking, without waiting for Lin Jing to respond, she stepped out and disappeared on the spot. She did not even need Lin Jing's assistance to open the defensive array. For Lin Jing, this defensive array seemed as if it were virtually non-existent. Only after the woman in white had left did Yuxing approach Lin Jing and ask, Who is this senior? Lin Jing shook his head and said, I'm not sure either. I only know she should be from the Ice God Palace. After speaking, Lin Jing turned to Yuxing and asked, Have you, being in the demonic monster sea for so long, ever heard of the Ice God Palace? Ice God Palace. Yuxing furrowed her brows in thought for a moment before shaking her head and saying, No. Lin Jing nodded and said, Given that senior's cultivation, I guess the Ice God Palace must be an extremely powerful hidden sect. Yuxing also nodded and then glanced down at the several people below. Island Master, who are they? Lin Jing then spoke up. These people were all rescued by me from the hands of the Black Shark Gang, and they all have some connection with me. Continuing, Lin Jing pointed at Han Bingyan and said, The senior who just left is her mentor. Upon hearing this, Yuxing was shocked and said, Rescued from the Black Shark Gang. So the senior who said she would eradicate the Black Shark Gang, was it also because of this? As the two had spoken earlier without concealing their words, Yuxing, standing behind Lin Jing, had heard everything quite clearly. She naturally knew about the woman in white who said she would destroy the Black Shark Gang. Following that, Lin Jing, bringing Yuxing with him, descended and arrived in the courtyard. Upon reaching the courtyard, Li Qingqing, Lin Ju, and Jian came up to meet them. You must be Senior Yuqing. Brother Lin Jing has mentioned you to me. Seeing Yuqing arrive, Li Qingqing hurriedly addressed Yuqing. Before this, when Lin Jing had brought the others back, Yuqing had immediately gone into seclusion. Therefore, they were unaware of her presence, while Yuqing, on the other hand, had been mentioned by Lin Jing to the others more than once. After listening to this, Yuqing, smiling, looked at the group and said, "Just call me Qingyang." However, at this moment, Lin Jing spoke up to the others. "You all chat for a bit. I have something to ask Bingyan." The group nodded and then started chatting. At this time, Lin Jing approached Han Bingyan. When he reached her side, she was as shy as she had been before. "Senior." Seeing Lin Jing approaching, Han Bingyan spoke up softly. Lin Jing then asked, "Bingyan, is the senior who just came the mentor you mentioned before?" Han Bingyan nodded gently and replied, "Yes, senior." "Did your mentor give you a hard time?" Because their earlier conversation was in the air above the courtyard, and although it wasn't deliberately concealed, it still wasn't something that those in the courtyard could hear. Therefore, Han Bingyan was not aware of what Lin Jing and the others had said. Lin Jing said, "No, but your mentor is indeed no ordinary person. Do you know what her cultivation is?" Han Bingyan shook her head and said, "I once asked my mentor, but she told me not to aim too high, so she didn't tell me." "I see." Lin Jing nodded slightly after Han Bingyan finished speaking. Then he continued to say to Han Bingyan, "All right, there's nothing else. You go and have fun with them." Han Bingyan nodded and said, "Okay, senior." Afterward, Lin Jing nodded and left directly. Not long after the woman in white had left, news spread that the Black Shark Gang had been annihilated. The impact of this event was so significant that as soon as it happened, it caused a huge stir. The one responsible for destroying the Black Shark Gang was a single person, and that was an incredibly beautiful woman. It is known that the Black Shark Gang had managed to operate smoothly for so many years in the Southern Sea region because of its extraordinary influence. Reportedly, in addition to having 3 divinity transformation stage powerhouses of its own, the Black Shark Gang also had some connections with the Lord of Beehai City. However, what good did their connections to Beehai City do when the Black Shark Gang couldn't escape the reality of being eradicated? It was said that after the destruction of the Black Shark Gang, some people specifically went to Black Shark Island and saw that the whole island had been leveled. Not a single member of the Black Shark Gang on Black Shark Island escaped, including those 3 divinity transformation stage powerhouses. None got away. Besides, all the cultivators captured on the subordinate island, Black Xing Island, were also released after the island was flattened. And none of the Black Shark Gang members on Black Xing Island were spared either. Moreover, eyewitnesses claimed that the Lord of Beehai City once went to Black Xing Island, only to be sent away by the woman with a single shout. Afterward, the Lord of Beehai City didn't even dare to utter a word and sheepishly returned to Beehai City. Not too long afterwards, the whole affair was uncovered by some informed individuals and became the subject of widespread discussion. The reason behind this was that the Black Shark Gang had unwittingly kidnapped a disciple from a top sect in the demon monster inner sea, thus provoking the sect's retaliation. Furthermore, this disciple was one of the people whom the Black Shark Gang had been so eagerly offering a reward for their capture over this period. Now, because of one person, the entire Black Shark Gang had been wiped out. One wonders if the Black Shark Gang leader, had he known earlier, would have repented. At the same time, this incident also served as a warning to many. The trade of human lives is not a business to engage in. You never know when you might offend the wrong person and find your entire clan annihilated. Isn't the Black Shark Gang a bloody lesson in this? In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed since the Black Shark Gang was annihilated. However, the impact of this event did not fade away. Instead, it seemed to intensify as time went on. On this day, even Zhang Jian came to Lin Jing to discuss the matter of the Black Shark Gang. Upon arriving at Lin Jing's place and seeing him in the courtyard, Zhang Jian couldn't wait to speak up. "Brother Lin, you must have heard about the Black Shark Gang, right?" Lin Jing nodded and said, "This matter has had a big impact. Of course I've heard about it." Hearing this, Zhang Jian hurriedly came up to Lin Jing, winked at him, and said with a smile, "Let me tell you, I have the whole truth about the annihilation of the Black Shark Gang, even down to the origins of the person who wiped them out. I know it all. What do you think? Are you interested?" Lin Jing looked at Zhang Jian with a strange expression and simply shook his head. Not interested. What truth could there be that was more true than his own, the actual person involved? Zhang Jian was taken aback by Lin Jing's response, and then looked at him with disbelief, saying, "You can't be serious. This is a shocking secret. Are you really not interested? Don't you know how many people out there want to uncover the mystery of how the Black Shark Gang was destroyed? Could you be possessed by an evil spirit to be uninterested in this?" As Zhang Jian spoke, he tilted his head and looked at Lin Jing with a skeptical expression. However, before Lin Jing could respond, a cold and clear voice suddenly interrupted. "I would like to hear what secret you're talking about." Upon hearing this voice, Lin Jing felt a chill in his heart, because this voice was identical to that of the white-robed woman. Lin Jing turned around and saw the white-robed woman standing at the entrance of the courtyard. He didn't even know when she had arrived. Moreover, the white-robed woman had disguised her cultivation level, appearing now as if she were merely at the early stages of the golden core. Not just Lin Jing. Zhang Jian also turned around quickly upon hearing the voice and looked in the direction it had come from. When he saw the white-robed woman, he was completely dumbfounded. No other reason. Simply because the white-robed woman was exceedingly beautiful. Seeing the appearance of the white-robed woman, Lin Jing was about to bow and greet the white-robed woman, but her look stopped him in his tracks. At that moment, Zhang Jian was still staring blankly at the white-robed woman. If no one attended to him, he might start drooling. However, just then, a flash of cold light appeared in the eyes of the white-robed woman, and Zhang Jian immediately snapped out of his stupor. Once he returned to his senses, Zhang Jian tightened his robes and mumbled softly, "Strange, why did I suddenly feel a chill just now?" Although it was early spring in March, and the weather should not be cold, and Zhang Jian, as a golden core cultivator, certainly couldn't be affected by such a mild chill. The only possibility was that the killing intent of the white-robed woman made him feel the cold. However, now that the white-robed woman had resumed her usual demeanor, Zhang Jian didn't notice anything amiss. Instead, he turned to the white-robed woman, smiling and saying, "Fairy, are you an old acquaintance of Lin Daoyu? Why haven't I seen you before?" The white-robed woman replied directly, "I've only known Lin Jing for half a month, but that's not important. I am quite interested in your story about the mystery of the Black Shark Gang's demise and the origins of their destroyer. Would you tell me about it?" As soon as Zhang Jian heard the white-robed woman say this, he immediately became excited. Of course. Brother Lin has some excellent spiritual tea here. We could drink and talk. What do you think, Fairy?" Zhang Jian's behavior made Lin Jing's heart beat fast. He was like an old man trying to hang himself, tired of living. Yet, the white-robed woman seemed to want to elicit information from Zhang Jian and did not object, instead saying directly, "Of course, that's fine." As soon as the white-robed woman agreed, Zhang Jian became even more attentive. "Fairy, please, this way." With that, Zhang Jian guided the white-robed woman through the courtyard and into the inside. Lin Jing followed cautiously behind. Zhang Jian deliberately slowed down to walk alongside Lin Jing, and then he transmitted the sound to him, complaining, "Brother Lin, you're not being fair. Meeting this fairy and not telling me about it. You should definitely serve the best tea later. Don't let us lose face." To this, Lin Jing felt like crying without tears. This fairy was far beyond what he could afford to provoke. Lin Jing wanted to warn him through transmitted sound, but the white-robed woman turned around at that moment and looked at Lin Jing with a smile. At the sight of the white-robed woman's smile, Lin Jing just felt a chill down his spine. Obviously, the white-robed woman had heard every word of Zhang Jian's transmission. Faced with this situation, Lin Jing had no solution and could only hope that Zhang Jian wouldn't push his luck too far, leaving them both a way out. The three of them made their way to the room, and Lin Jing quickly brewed the tea, first offering a cup respectfully to the white-robed woman. Facing this woman in white, whose cultivation level was unknown, Lin Jing had to be careful. Otherwise, provoking her could lead to unpleasant consequences for him. Actually, it wasn't entirely necessary for Lin Jing to be so cautious. But with Jian acting foolishly, Lin Jing naturally had to be extremely careful to avoid getting implicated. Meanwhile, Jian helped himself to another cup of tea, savoring it with obvious pleasure. He even took the initiative to invite the woman in white, saying, "Fairy, this spiritual tea is quite rare and a true delicacy. You should try some." The woman in white remained unmoved by Jian's invitation and spoke directly. "Now, can you talk?" Jian nodded and said, "Of course." After finishing a sip of the spiritual tea and placing the cup down, Jian continued, "I'm telling you, the Black Shark Gang was destroyed because they provoked a formidable individual. And that individual is from a top power in the demon monster Inner Sea." The woman in white didn't speak, only giving Lin Jing a look. Lin Jing instantly understood and spoke. "Isn't this what everyone has been talking about all along? Now everyone knows the Black Shark Gang provoked a top power from the demon monster Inner Sea. Is this news to you?" Jian picked up the teapot, poured himself a full cup, and then said, "Not at all." Having said that, Jian took the cup and savored the tea once more. He behaved as though he was the only sober person in a world full of drunks. Seeing his ostentatious demeanor, Lin Jing just wanted to hold him down and give him a beating. Even the woman in white seemed somewhat displeased at this point. So Lin Jing quickly spoke up, "Stop beating around the bush and get on with it." Only then did Jian put down his teacup and open his mouth to speak again. "Others only know it's a top power from the demon monster Inner Sea, but they don't know which one it is. But I know which family did it." "Which one?" asked Lin Jing. Jian looked at the two of them, proudly stating, "Ice God Palace, have you heard of it?" Others might not even have heard of the Ice God Palace, but I know that it's a top power just like Seven Seas Hall and Shocking Seas Alliance. It just doesn't show itself or let its disciples wander about very often. However, its strength should not be underestimated in the slightest." Having said that, Jian once again turned to the woman in white and added, "Moreover, the Ice God Palace only recruits female disciples. It is a sect exclusively for female cultivators. It is said that the disciples of the Ice God Palace are all beauties capable of bringing kingdoms to their knees and shaming the moon and flowers, just like this fairy." Lin Jing curled his lips slightly before continuing to ask, "How do you know it was someone from the Ice God Palace who did it?" Because of this, as he spoke, Jian took out a jade slip from his storage bag and added, "I came across this jade slip by chance, and it contains information about the Ice God Palace. And I also visited Black Shark Island, and judging by the traces left there, the spell used matches the spell work of the Ice God Palace." Jian had not finished speaking when the woman in white no longer concealed herself and reached out her hand. The jade slip instantly appeared in her grasp. Jian, seeing the jade slip falling into the hands of the woman in white, was momentarily stunned. It was only then that he felt something was amiss. Because, when the woman in white made her move, he had no time to react before the jade slip was already in her hands. As soon as the woman in white took the jade slip, she probed it with her divine sense. In just a moment, she had thoroughly examined the entire jade slip. "So that's how it is," the woman in white murmured to herself. Afterward, she stopped pretending. She simply radiated her aura. Even without any movement, Lin Jing could feel the terrifying aura, making it difficult for him to breathe. By this time, Jian was completely dumbfounded. He couldn't understand how the woman, who had appeared to be an early-stage golden core cultivator just a moment ago, could now exude such a fearsome presence. At that moment, Jian, trembling all over, fell to his knees with a thump. Struggling to speak, he stuttered, "I'm immortal." Having just finished, Jian quickly realized his mistake and slapped himself across the mouth. "No, it's not. Say, Senior, I was rude just now. Please forgive me, Senior." However, the woman in white ignored Jian. She simply took out a space ring and threw it to Lin Jing, then said plainly, "This was obtained from the hand of the Black Shark Gang leader, and now it's yours. Consider it payment for taking care of Bingyan." The space ring from the Black Shark Gang leader was bound to contain plenty of good things, and the woman in white just gave it away. This left Lin Jing pleasantly stunned. Lin Jing wanted to decline, but the woman in white said bluntly, "Such items might seem overly valuable to you, but to our ice god palace, they're insignificant. Just keep it." After hearing this, Lin Jing also accepted the ring and said, "Thank you, senior." The woman in white didn't respond, but instead cast a cold glance at Zhang. At that moment, Zhang was even more terrified. From the conversation between the woman in white and Lin Jing just now, Zhang had also guessed the identity of this woman. She was the one who had destroyed the Black Shark Gang, a person from the Ice God Palace. Thinking of his own actions just a moment ago, Zhang was filled with regret and wished he could slap himself several times. At this time, the woman in white directly emitted a stream of white cold air from her fingertips, and upon touching the jade slip immediately shattered into countless fragments, falling onto the table. Afterward, the woman in white extended her hand and swept over the table, causing the jade slip to turn directly into powder and disappear without a trace. Then, the woman in white turned to Zhang and said, "You were able to get a jade slip from the Ice God Palace, and that was your luck. This jade slip was left behind by a traitor of our Ice God Palace. I came out from the inner sea to hunt down this traitor." At this point, the woman in white's gaze turned icy, staring directly at Zhang. "Besides this time, have you shown it to anyone else?" Zhang hurriedly shook his head and said, "Senior, this is the only time. It's the first time I've shown it to someone since I found this jade slip." The woman in white kept staring at him, and naturally, Zhang didn't dare to lie. After a moment, the woman in white nodded and said, "Considering that you haven't shown it to anyone else, I will not punish you this time." Zhang was just about to sigh in relief when the woman in white spoke again. "However, you had intentions of disgracing me, and this cannot be let go so easily." Upon hearing this, Zhang heart leapt to his throat. Lin Jing also tried to intercede at this time. "Senior, although Zhang can be unreliable at times, he is actually quite a good person. I hope Senior can show mercy." The woman in white let out a cold snort. There's no need for further words. His crime may not merit death, but also cannot be so easily forgiven. Considering he has come upon this jade slip, he has also reduced some trouble for our Ice God Palace. I am someone who repays kindness with kindness and revenge with revenge. His finding of the jade slip prevented it from being leaked, which counts as a kindness, but his intention to disgrace me counts as revenge. Having said that, the woman in white pointed directly at Zhang. A stream of cold ice spiritual power rushed into Zhang's body, causing his face to drastically change as he hurriedly checked his own condition. Apart from a mass of cold ice spiritual power in his dantian, there were no other abnormalities. At that point, the woman in white said, "I have left a strand of pure spiritual power inside you. This power can assist you in reaching the golden core peak in a short period of time. But correspondingly, every time you break through, you will experience the pain of frostbone erosion." After hearing this, Zhang was stunned for a moment. He had thought it was going to be punishment, but to his surprise, it turned out to be a great opportunity given to him, and he was overjoyed. So Zhang quickly bowed his head in thanks. "Thank you, Senior." Even Lin Jing, upon hearing this, was filled with envy. It wasn't easy to find the opportunity to reach Golden Core Peak so quickly. Zhang was indeed incredibly lucky, and this woman in white was truly generous. She gave away the Black Shark Gang leader's space ring without any hesitation. And Zhang, even after offending her so, had even caused Lin Jing to break out in a cold sweat with his words and actions. But unexpectedly, because of the jade slip, he was directly granted a tremendous opportunity. The woman in white just chuckled coldly and said, I hope after you've experienced the pain of frostbone erosion, you can still be grateful to me. Jian quickly stated his position. Senior has granted me such a great opportunity, let alone the pain of frostbone erosion. Even if I have to endure flaying and deboning, I can bear it. Jian confidently boasted. Little did he know, after experiencing the pain of frostbone erosion, Jian began to question his life. It even caused him to develop a psychological shadow. Even hundreds of years later in the nascent soul stage, whenever he heard the words cold ice, his entire body would shiver uncontrollably. All of this was the retribution the woman in white had in store for Jian. The woman in white no longer responded but turned to Lin Jing and Jian and said, I do not wish for anyone to leak the matter regarding the Black Shark Gang. Lin Jing nodded and said, Don't worry, Senior. We will absolutely not disclose this incident. As a joke, to reveal this matter would be tantamount to being as weary of life as Jian himself. At this moment, Jian also hurriedly said, Please be assured, Senior, I will definitely keep the secret. Subsequently, the woman in white looked at Jian and said, Also, I hope you keep the content of that Jade slip to yourself. If a second person knows, I think you understand the consequences. Jian quickly nodded and said, Please be assured, Senior. Then, Jian raised 3 fingers to the sky and said, I, Jian, solemnly swear upon my soul spirit that I will never reveal the contents of the Jade slip. If I disclose it to a second person, I, Jian, shall die under the heavenly tribulation, my soul scattered to the winds. Seeing Jian take an oath upon his soul spirit, the woman in white's expression softened considerably, and then she said to Jian, Come on, stand up. Following that, the woman in white took out 3 white elixirs and, with a wave of her hand, sent them with spiritual power to Jian, saying, Since you know the score, I'll give you these 3 antidotes. You may take them when you break through to reduce the pain of frostbone erosion. Upon hearing this, Jian quickly stood up, respectfully received the elixir medicine, and then bowed deeply to the woman in white. Thank you, Senior. And the woman in white nodded, then continued, You will come with me later to the place where you found that Jade slip. Jian hurriedly said, Yes, Senior. Following this, the woman in white spoke to Lin Jing. I'm done here. Next, I will take Bingyan back to the Ice God Palace. Lin Jing hurriedly said, Then, Senior, I will bring Bingyan over immediately. The woman in white, however, said, There's no need. I have already notified her, and she should be here shortly. Having finished speaking, the woman in white stood up and walked outside. Lin Jing and Jian followed obediently behind her. After arriving in the courtyard, it wasn't long before Bingyan arrived. Accompanying her were Elixir, Lin Ju, and Yuxing. Obviously, they had just been together, which is why they came together to see off Bingyan. When Bingyan came over and saw the woman in white, she directly said, Master. The woman in white nodded and said, We should leave, back to the Ice God Palace. You have spent not a short time with them. Say your goodbyes, and we will set off afterwards. Bingyan nodded, Yes, Master. Then, she turned around to bid farewell to Elixir and the trio of Lin Ju and Yuxing. Although Bingyan was usually silent, the time spent together had made her a bit more outgoing. Her relationship with them had also become closer, especially with Elixir, who had been like an elder sister to her, taking great care of her. Just then, Elixir took out a pure jade box and offered it to Bingyan. This is the flawless eternal youth elixir I have just refined recently, and now I'm giving it to you. Bingyan looked at the pure jade box and said, Qingqing's sister, you need this eternal youth elixir the most right now. You should keep it. Qingqing, however, pushed the pure jade box into Bingyan's hands and said, I can refine more eternal youth elixirs, and I won't be short of them in the future. Just keep it. At this point, even the woman in white spoke up. Bingyan, just accept it. The flawless eternal youth elixir not only preserves youth, but also expels impurities from the body, which can help in cultivating our sex techniques. Even if she hadn't given you this one, I would have found a way to get you a flawless eternal youth elixir. Han Bingyan nodded and accepted the flawless eternal youth elixir. Thank you, Sister Qingqing. Li Qingqing, with a smile, said, You're welcome. At this moment, the woman in white continued. Since you've given Bingyan an eternal youth elixir, I am not a stingy person either. She then addressed Li Qingqing directly. Come here, you. Li Qingqing, following, approached her, respectfully saying, Senior. After that, the woman in white similarly took out a pure jade box and presented it to Li Qingqing. This is a flawless cleansing spirit elixir, refined with cleansing spirit liquid, which can be used to improve one's cultivation aptitude. Now, I'm giving it to you. Li Qingqing was stunned, receiving an elixir medicine that could improve cultivation aptitude. Lin Jing, upon hearing this, was also surprised. He hadn't expected that there was elixir medicine refined with cleansing spirit liquid. Next, Li Qingqing repeatedly waved her hands, saying, Senior, this is too precious. I can't accept it. The woman in white directly said, If I give you this elixir medicine, you keep it. I don't like owing others, and this includes my disciple as well. After hearing this, Li Qingqing had no choice but to accept the cleansing spirit elixir. Seeing the cleansing spirit elixir, Lin Jing was very interested and quickly asked the woman in white, Senior, can cleansing spirit liquid also be used in alchemy? I am also an alchemist, yet I have never heard of this. The woman in white looked at Lin Jing, nodded, and said, Cleansing spirit liquid can indeed be used in alchemy. The reason you haven't seen it is that the formula for refining cleansing spirit elixir dates back to the ancient era and has almost disappeared. Nowadays, cleansing spirit liquid is also rare and almost impossible to encounter. Therefore, the formula for the cleansing spirit elixir is nearly lost, propagated only within some long-standing forces of the inner sea. No wonder, Lin Jing suddenly commented. Just how does one incorporate it into the elixir medicine without it dissipating the moment it leaves the cleansing spirit pool? Seeing Lin Jing's interest in the cleansing spirit elixir, the woman in white then said, Seeing your interest in this cleansing spirit elixir, here, I have a copy of the formula for it, which I will give to you directly. The method for refining the cleansing spirit elixir, as well as how to extract the cleansing spirit liquid, are all recorded in that formula. You can check it directly. If you can find the cleansing spirit liquid, you can also try refining a few to see. Having said that, the woman in white wiped her space ring and instantly produced a jade slip, handing it over to Lin Jing. Lin Jing was overjoyed as he received the jade slip, and then he expressed his gratitude to the woman in white. Thank you, Senior. The woman in white nodded and simply said to Lin Jing, All right, we're leaving, farewell. Lin Jing and Li Qingqing, along with others, then addressed the woman in white and Han Bingyan. Senior, farewell. Bingyan, take good care. The woman in white nodded slightly, and then took Han Bingyan and the two with Zhang Jian, directly ascending into the sky on their swords. At this moment, Bingyan turned around and waved at the group. Lin Jing and the others waved back, saying goodbye. Afterwards, they left. On the day following the departure of the woman in white, Li Tangyu arrived at Liyan Island. Li Tangyu's arrival coincided with Li Qingqing also being there. As soon as he entered the courtyard, Li Tangyu began, saying, Brother Lin, the Black Shark gang has been wiped out. You must have heard about it. Do you know who did it? Lin Jing nodded and replied, Yes, I know. Filled with surprise, Li Tangyu asked who. It was at this moment Li Qingqing spoke up, saying, Brother, do you still remember Han Bingyan? Li Tangyu nodded and said, Of course I remember. Isn't that the girl who was taken away with you by the young gang leader of the Black Shark gang? Li Qingqing nodded and replied, Yes. The one who annihilated the Black Shark gang was none other than the master of Han Bingyan. Upon hearing this, Li Tangyu was shocked. Her master is that formidable. Li Qingqing nodded her head and said, Her master is from a top sect of the demon monster inner sea, with extremely high cultivation. No wonder, Li Tangyu said. However, Lin Jing reminded him at this moment. Brother Li, keep this matter to yourself, do not leak it out. Li Tangyu nodded and replied, Don't worry, I know what's at stake. Following that, Lin Jing took out a secret tome from his space ring and handed it to Li Tangyu, saying, Brother Li, after you acquired the puppet black slave the last time, haven't you been looking for the refining technique and a method to advance it? Behold, it's all here. Li Tangyu, initially startled, took the secret tome and, after flipping through it, asked Lin Jing with confusion, Brother Lin, how did you come by this secret tome? Lin Jing straightforwardly said, I obtained it from the Black Shark Gang leader. After the Black Shark Gang was destroyed, Bingyan's master gave me the gang leader's space ring. I see, said Li Tangyu, nodding his head. Having said that, he opened the secret tome to examine it. When the woman in white gave Lin Jing that space ring, the restrictions on it had already been broken. Therefore, Lin Jing easily saw the contents within. The items inside the ring could truly be described as all-encompassing. It must be said, the wealth of the Black Shark Gang was indeed substantial. In the ring, there were even over 10 million medium-grade spirit stones, as well as a significant number of superior-grade spirit stones. Lin Jing had even taken the time to count them at that time, finding that there were also over 200,000 superior-grade spirit stones. Next to the superior-grade spirit stones were several spirit stones of a special shape, which contained even more spiritual power than the superior-grade spirit stones. The colors of these spirit stones were also different from the others, being multicolored. Though Lin Jing had never seen them with his own eyes before, he had heard about them. These multicolored spirit stones were the extremely rare top-grade spirit stones. Besides these, there were several Dao artifacts. These Dao artifacts included those for attack, for defense, and yet others with special functions. But Lin Jing dared not touch any of these Dao artifacts, since they were connected to the Black Shark Gang. With the entire Southern Sea region paying attention to this matter, taking out these Dao artifacts rashly would be too conspicuous. Especially at this critical juncture of the Black Shark Gang's annihilation, Lin Jing could neither use them nor sell them. They could only be left aside for now, until this period had passed. Beyond the items already mentioned, there were simply some cultivation methods left, along with some rare spirit plants, materials, and such. When Lin Jing first received the space ring, he was utterly stunned. The abundance of spirit stones inside made him wonder if it contained all the wealth the Black Shark Gang had accumulated over the years. Initially, when he acquired the space ring of a young gang leader of the Black Shark Gang, there hadn't been many spirit stones inside due to a recent transaction. Lin Jing had felt some regrets at the time, but this space ring of the Black Shark Gang leader had completely made up for his earlier disappointment. With these spirit stones, he wouldn't have to worry about lacking any spirit plants in the future. Even among these items, Lin Jing had found a pill recipe for refining 5th-rank revival elixirs. When a cultivator's cultivation reached the nascent soul stage, the battles between cultivators were no longer solely at the level of spell casting. They used divine skills involving the soul spirit. The cultivation of nascent soul stage cultivators centered around the soul spirit. As long as the soul spirit did not perish, regardless of the severity of the injury, they could be instantly healed. Therefore, healing elixirs were of no use to nascent soul stage cultivators. Although bodily injuries could be instantly healed, battles between nascent soul stage cultivators could lead to damage to the soul spirit. Damage to the soul spirit was truly lethal for nascent soul stage cultivators, and this revival elixir was intended to repair damage to the soul spirit. Apart from the pill recipe for the revival elixir, Lin Jing also found a part of a fragmented map inside the Black Shark Gang leader's space ring. Because the map was incomplete, only a small part remained. Lin Jing only saw the words 5 elements on that incomplete map, so it was likely related to the 5 elements, and thus he opportunistically tucked it away. After perusing the secret manual for a while, Li Tangyu put it away and earnestly said to Lin Jing, During this period, I've been paying attention to the movements of Enya Demon Lord and the other disciples of the Demon Lord. I found that these disciples of the Demon Lord are not so amicable towards each other. It seems they are all competing with each other. Next, I plan to try to use the other disciples of the Demon Lord to deal with Enya Demon Lord. What do you think, Brother Lin? After hearing this, Lin Jing frowned and pondered for a moment before saying, Brotherly, this undertaking of yours will be very dangerous. Hearing the exchange between the two, Li Qingqing also furrowed her brows. But thinking of her brother's current situation, she just listened patiently, without offering any opinion. Li Tangyu nodded and said, Indeed, there is danger. Therefore, I can only be more careful and gradually, step by step, make contact with the other disciples of the Demon Lord. Moreover, the Demon Lord is currently quite confident in his restraints and poison against me, so he has slightly let his guard down. Now is my chance. No sooner had Li Tangyu finished speaking than Lin Jing followed up, asking, Brotherly, do you now have any clue about how to deal with the restraints and the poison? Li Tangyu shook his head and said, I had investigated before, but recently Enya Demon Lord sent me on several missions, which caused some delays, so I currently have no clues. Lin Jing's eyebrows slightly furrowed as he nodded and said, This matter should not be rushed, but it cannot be ignored either. Li Tangyu also nodded in agreement and said, Don't worry, I understand. Afterward, Li Tangyu chatted with Lin Jing and Li Qingqing for a while before preparing to leave. Li Tangyu was not very free most of the time, so even when coming to see Lin Jing and the others, he couldn't stay long, usually leaving after a few words. This time, to save Li Tangyu the detour to Liyan Island, it was still Lin Jing who piloted the flying boat to send Li Tangyu back to the vicinity of 1Mo Island. Originally, Li Qingqing wanted to see him off, but she was persuaded to go back by Li Tangyu, who found an excuse. Though Li Qingqing was reluctant, she was also very sensible and departed, heading back to her small courtyard. Li Tangyu watched Li Qingqing's departing figure with a look of tenderness in his eyes. Lin Jing stood aside, looking at Li Tangyu, but said nothing. Then, Lin Jing directly summoned the flying boat and left with Li Tangyu on it. The flying boat had just taken off when Lin Jing said to Li Tangyu, Brotherly, what exactly happened? Why keep a secret from Qing? Lin Jing knew that there must be a reason for Li Tangyu's secrecy, likely something he needed to explain alone to him. That's why he had persuaded Li Qingqing to go back. Li Tangyu gave a wry smile and said, To not hide it from Brother Lin. Actually, this matter still concerns the cultivation method I practice. Cultivation method? Lin Jing exclaimed, then asked, What do you mean? Did something go wrong with that method? Li Tangyu then looked at Lin Jing and said, Brother Lin, don't you think that my cultivation progression is too fast? Lin Jing, looking at Li Tangyu, who now reached the golden core 5th layer, said, Indeed, Brother Li, your cultivation speed is indeed too fast. What exactly is going on? Li Tangyu then explained, The reason my cultivation has progressed so quickly is entirely due to the cultivation method I practice. This method is different from others, as it allows one to absorb a portion of the cultivation from those one kills. That's why Enya Demon Lord keeps sending me on various missions to kill. But even so, to survive, I can't help but kill. If I don't, I'm afraid he won't show me any mercy. After listening, Lin Jing's brows were tightly knit. Is there any drawback to this method of enhancing cultivation through killing? Li Tangyu nodded and said, There is, and it's not minor. I only learned about the downside of this method a while ago. Lin Jing promptly asked, What's the drawback? Li Tangyu shook his head with a helpless smile and said, Enya Demon Lord had me practice these demonic techniques precisely to refine me into a demon elixir, thereby enhancing his own cultivation. The cultivation I gain through killing is extremely mixed and not sufficient for breaking through to a higher realm. The most I can reach is the Golden Core Peak, and that's precisely Enya Demon Lord's intention. Once my cultivation reaches the Golden Core Peak, the spiritual power within me will be full to the brim. At that point, He will use me as a component in an elixir, refining a demon elixir to enhance his own cultivation. If the cultivation is not sufficient, it can't be used for refining. Otherwise, the demon elixir will surely be destroyed. So, at most, I can reach Golden Core Peak. If I cannot find any other way by then, death is certain. If not at Golden Core Peak, I could live well and good. That's why I made an excuse to send Qing away. I didn't want Qing to worry over this.